welcome you to the Buckmaster Show. It is the midweek edition, September the 6th, 2017, coming to you from AM 1030 KVOI. We've got our live streaming, buckmastershow.com. That kicks you over to kvoi.com. We've got all of our podcasts. Pretty much every show we have done is archived at buckmastershow.com since we began this radio project back in January of 2011. Showdown Day, the first Wednesday of the month. That means we would love to have you join in the conversation. 790-2040 is the Buckmaster Show live line, and we would welcome your comments. And if you would like to say something about what we're talking about, come on in. The Monthly Showdown is the place here in Tucson on the radio where left meets right, and seated to my left, appropriately enough, David Morales. David is creator of the popular blog site, The Three Sonorans, which he started, let me guess, 2010?
2010, yep.
And you have had how many people, how many million have come to the site?
I just broke the 3.4 million mark.
Very cool.
Very good.
David has a master's degree from the University of California at Berkeley. He teaches, appropriately enough again, mathematics at the college level at Pima Community College. And this month on the show, we welcome a new sparring mate for David, conservative columnist for the Arizona Daily Star and the WesternFreePress.com, contributor Joseph Morgan. Joe also hosts a weekly talk show that is about 5 weeks old, Joe?
It's a little older than that now, 7 weeks actually.
There you go. Name of the show is Common Sense here on KVOI, Saturday afternoons at 1. Joe has also a master's degree in U.S. history. Joe, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
And David, it's always good to see you.
Likewise.
Both the major papers, the two largest papers in the state of Arizona, the Arizona Daily Star and the Arizona Republic, editorializing today, condemning the DACA decision, the Dreamer decision. Begin with the Arizona Daily Star, 800,000 betrayed by DACA decision that defies logic. Just a quick quote from that editorial. The Trump administration is breaking America's promise to 800,000 young immigrants who are living in the United States illegally because of their parents' actions. And then the Arizona Republic, Trump fails Dreamers. And that decision, according to the Republic, the president's decision has thrown into upheaval the lives of nearly 800,000 young people who, while not formally Americans, are Americans in virtually every sense. Joe, let's begin with you. Your reaction to this decision?
I'm actually very supportive of what President Trump did for numerous reasons, but the two major ones are, first and foremost, I think that we absolutely are a democratic society, and we should follow the legislative process, the democratic process, which Barack Obama himself said in the years of his presidency when they were trying to get something done, comprehensive, not comprehensive, just some kind of legislation that was related to the DACA people affected by this situation, these young people, that, hey, my hands are kind of tied. There's nothing I can do about this. But then he decided to do something after the multiple failed options. And basically his solution is this deferred action program, which is essentially, we call it a program, but it's essentially a decision by the executive office not to enforce immigration law. And that's a problem because we do need to deal with the immigration issues. And there's multiple complexities. I am irritated to no end that both of these parties use these people as a political football, essentially, as opposed to actually coming together and trying to find some comprehensive decision that includes the DACA people affected by this. But an analogy that I like to think of this is what if Republicans who are against capital gains tax what if, since we can't, get tax reform through, what if President Trump were to issue a program, essentially, and telling the IRS agents, you're no longer going to collect capital gains tax, and that's what I'm going to do to get that money to stay in the economy? There'd be outrage, and rightly so, because we should have legislative laws that are then executed by the chief executives. And that's what did not happen here. He decided, I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I'm talking about Obama now. And so everybody's like, well, great. Well, my other problem with that is now you have this group of people who are essentially in limbo. There's no pathway to citizenship for them. And Congress gets to sit on their hands again because, hey, the DACA problem is taken care of, even though the Republicans can use it as a thing saying, hey, it's Obama's fault.
So now Congress has an 6-month deadline.
So now Congress, I kind of, and that was to my second point. Yeah, I kind of actually think it's great to put Congress under the gun and force them to do something.
Okay.
Because they should.
All right. David Morales, you think obviously completely different from what Joe has been saying.
I think given this last month of things that have been going on, from Charlottesville to the pardon of Arpaio to the DACA, is part of this trend that is very disturbing to me. I mean, 2 weeks ago, the big focus should have been on Hurricane Harvey. The focus this week should be on Hurricane Irma. And I mean, it's going to cause billions and billions of dollars in disaster and lives lost. But instead, it's really, really important for him to decriminalize someone that's been found guilty in a court of law, Sheriff Arpaio.
On the Friday night of the eve of the Harvey hitting.
Exactly.
And now you're saying this on
the eve, if you will,
Irma.
Yeah. I mean, so why send out these signals? I mean, so the immigration thing has always been an interesting thing because, I mean, is it really a problem? Like, how many, do you wake up every day and it's just you're tripping over immigrants and immigrants are just causing all this trouble and stuff? It's not a big problem. In fact, it's a benefit to our society. Immigrants pay taxes. They are entrepreneurs. They own houses and all this stuff. And if you got rid of all of them, you'd have a bunch of stores with no customers. You'd have less money in town. And that's actually, Tucson got a little bump in downwards after 2010 when SB 1070 passed. So I think it's, I'll use the word evil. I think there's evil intentions behind this because these are young people who, they are in limbo. And why are you going to attack them? Why? So why did Obama act? Because Congress, they had a chance to pass a DREAM Act back in 2001. The last time was in 2010. They're not going to pass anything. And he acted because what are you going to do? I mean, are you going to deport? I mean, that's the other thing, the logistics behind this. Are you really going to start deporting 800,000 people? I mean, is that the next step? If you want them to enforce the law.
I think President Trump, Joe, was saying today, these people should be preparing to self-deport. I think those were the words they were using.
Yeah, he may have. I didn't actually catch that. If that did happen today, I'm not sure about that. But
again, to what David just said about the evil intent, Joe Morgan, do you see any kind of conspiracy here or anything?
No, I read the official statement on WhiteHouse.gov that the president put out. I thought it was fantastic. And again, what he's pushing for, he sees this as an opportunity, and the reason for the timing was because of the state's attorney general that are bringing those suits that were supposed to be filed today, and he had to act. Otherwise, he'd be forced to defend this in court, and he didn't want to defend this in court. His DOJ was not going to defend this in court, which is why he had to do it. But why
wouldn't they defend it?
Because it's indefensible from a constitutional perspective. It's indefensible from a legal perspective. And we can get into some other things about that. But with regards to what you were asking me,
yes.
WhiteHouse.gov, what the president said, his focus was on Americans. We need to get, and I think his intent is to try to force them to a comprehensive immigration reform that has compassion for people like those that fall in the DACA thing, because yes, they didn't choose to come to this country, but that makes it so that we have a legal framework that is created so that we don't have a continued influx of that kind of situation where 20 years down the road we have a whole nother group of these kind of people. What are we supposed to do at that point? And it's focusing on the fact that immigration and in particular illegal immigration affects disproportionately and unfairly both Hispanics and Latinos and blacks in this country who are low-wage income workers, and those are the kind of people whose jobs are being affected the most by illegal immigrants into this country.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, the facts don't show that out. People always try to make that argument that they're taking all our jobs, which is not the case. But this is what we've done. First of all, these were kids when they came, and to say you are not welcome here because of what you did, which you didn't even do, it happened to you when you were 2 years old. You were brought up in this country, probably never even visited Mexico. We spent all these resources educating, these students in our schools, and some of them graduate, valedictorian. There's a documentary on Carl Hayden High School in Phoenix where, they do all this robotics and all this stuff. And, you have an educated group of immigrants, and, why are you going to deport them? They always say we should focus on the criminals. Well, these aren't the criminals. Why are you focusing on, why are you making their lives miserable? Why are you spreading fear? You're making them live like Anne Frank, afraid that the police state's going to come down and raid your house and, take your kid, your parents away, break up your family. I mean, the Constitution is meant to be changed. And, I know you focus on the Constitution, but I mean, think about the Emancipation Proclamation. That wasn't a legislative action that freed the slaves. It was an executive action that needed to be done because the moral, the imperative was there. I mean, you do what's right.
Declared during a time of war. That's an important context.
Aren't we in war right now?
No.
We're in two wars. Oh, that's the thing. And then we don't even have wars anymore because the Congress doesn't declare wars, but the president can just do what he wants. So,
all right, we'll pick this up with Joe Morgan and David Morales after the break, and we'll get back to something, Joe, about from a constitutional point of view. You're saying President Trump really had no other choice. Isn't that kind of what I heard you say?
Yeah.
All right, we'll pick up on that when we come back. 790-2040 if you'd like to join. It is the Monthly Showdown. Joe Morgan and David Morales with us. Be right back. Welcome back. It is the Monthly Showdown. Joe Morgan is here. Joe is Arizona Daily Star columnist, also writes for the WesternFreePress.com. He is, of course, seated to my right, and David Morales seated to my left. And Joe, you were saying that President Trump really had no choice from a constitutional point of view concerning the Dreamers. However, you heard David's very passionate plea that these are, young people who, through no fault of their own, wound up in this country. Yeah. And it is a very emotional time for these people and their uncertainty. Can you understand where David's coming from?
Oh, absolutely. And I actually think that the vast majority of Americans agree with that position. Mm-hmm. We need to find a way to help these kind of people and protect their status and more importantly, like I said earlier, create a pathway to citizenship for them so that they're not forever in but not of the United States. Mm-hmm. Because I think that that's unfair to them as well. And that's something that needs to be done, again, through Congress because DACA doesn't create that kind of a pathway and it keeps them forever in that limbo status.
So you're happy to see Congress have the kick the ball over to Congress to deal with this.
I think, yeah, and again, from a constitutional perspective, it is Congress's to do. That's where our laws come from. Congress comes together, and what I would like to see with this particular issue, as I'd like to see with almost any issues, is there's so much partisanship that it's almost like pulling teeth to get anybody from the other party to do anything with any of the other guys. It's fine to have a perspective that's way over here on the right and one that's way over here on the left as a starting point. Like in business negotiations, you sit down, you have this, you have that, and then we negotiate and we come to a policy agreement that has enough compromise with it that people can say, hey, that's the best we could do with where we're at in this representative democracy that we find ourselves, and I should say republic because that's technically what we are. But that's what they're supposed to be doing up there. And so yes, it's their job, and they are the ones who have held these kind of people hostage. If you want to be mad at the elected officials.
What do you say to that, David?
Well, I think DACA is very constitutional, and I think what since you're an expert in the Constitution, you should know that. DACA is all about deferred action, right? It's about enforcement of the law. So Obama didn't pass a law saying I'm going to grant citizenship to all these people. What he says is I'm just not going to enforce the deportation of them. And he has every right to, because who's the enforcer of the law? It's the executive branch, right? Mm-hmm. So he's completely within his constitutional right. In fact, there's 40 years of constitutional case law where deferred action has always been upheld in a court of law. And, sometimes it could be for disasters, for people like refugees and stuff like that. Uh-huh. The president has every right to defer, as I say, deferred action, to not deport all these kids. First of all, it's unfeasible. It's just just the logistics behind it. But I don't understand what you think is unconstitutional about keeping people here. I mean, what's wrong with that?
The case laws that you're all referring to are all extenuating circumstances, which this is not. This is no, this is not an extenuating.
You're going to send them to a place they've never been to?
Because here's the ultimate. No.
Imagine if someone picked you up right now and put you in the middle of Tanzania.
Where does it stop? Because I'm going to give you some more recent case law that directly relates to DACA. DAPA. He tried to extend in 2014. First of all, he tried to extend DACA. Mm-hmm. And then he tried to extend and create a new program for parents, for adults that would have expanded the base of people affected under this deferred action mm-hmm. program to almost about estimates say, because again nobody really knows how many people are even in here in this country illegally, but around half of the illegal those who are here illegally would have been affected and covered by this. And that's when they rose up in arms. And
they even that right there means nothing. When you said here illegally, that doesn't mean anything in a court of law.
And they took it to court.
Presence is not illegal.
And they won. Mm-hmm. Then it made it all the way to the Supreme Court, where they couldn't make a decision because it was a 4-4 split with the death of Antonin Scalia. Mm-hmm. And so consequently, the lower court injunctions on those programs were upheld as being unlawful because he didn't have the authority not to enforce the laws in those kind of situations, because it's not truly considered extenuating circumstances of a refugee plight or of any of this other kind of stuff. It's a problem that we have, and I'm with you. We need to find a way, as Trump says, a way with heart to help these particular kids. But we need to get it in a comprehensive manner so that we can forego this same problem from continuing to grow, and then others being able to hurry up. Hey, look what America's doing. If we can just get our kids in there, then 20 years from now, they'll all be touched by heart again, and create another program where you're hop skipping over those who are doing it legally, and it's wrong. And it is a form of amnesty that, again, I think there's enough people in this country who understand the plight of these young people who were brought in here, but it needs to be done in a comprehensive manner so that we can address it once and for all.
Jim Kelly has called us. Jim is on the live line. Jim, how are you?
I am well, sir.
Good.
David, one of the things that I want to get across to you and hope you understand is that in order to bring people into the light, out from the underground, out from underground economies, out from being exploited by, companies that abuse and use mm-hmm. people that are in limbo in regards to their immigration.
Well, first of all, we're talking about
passing a law is a far, far better way of dealing with that.
That's fine, but that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Then extending the shadow of DACA, because that's what DACA does. It puts them all in a shadow, and it doesn't keep them. It doesn't bring them.
But what you guys are saying is let's deport them until the laws, until Congress gets its act together. Let's deport them because that's the right thing to do, to a place many of them have never been to. That makes no sense. That's dumb. I'd rather them be in limbo, learning and working in the United States until Congress gets its act together, than a mass deportation.
Well, nobody's going to be deported, are they, until the 6-month period?
Well, it's in 6 months.
Not immediately,
They get a 6-month.
There's a 6-month where no action will be taken
at all. So the clock's going to be running, right?
And Trump has, under his administration, they've already have deported some Dreamers already, mm-hmm. despite the DACA protections. But that's what I'm saying is,
those are contentious.
It's this pure
thing.
Two
cases that I know about.
So, I mean, is that your recommendation? Deport them until Congress gets its act together, and then we can worry about it?
Well, again, Congress has 6 months, so I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
In 6 months, should they be deported until Congress gets its act together?
Because you're such an advocate, you're an advocate.
No, but you haven't answered that question.
But you're an advocate for Hispanics, right, in particular.
I'm Hispanic for all humanity.
When I on Facebook and everything else, you really advocate, and I think it's great. And we
advocate for all people.
Yes, and especially in a Republican form of government, everybody's advocating for one group over another, and I have no problem with
I advocate for those that are under attack from our government, such as sending ICE raids and to people, to kids, to scaring them. Do you think they should be deported next year?
Point?
So what to pick up on what James was saying, Jim Kelly was saying as he called in. The number one group of people that is affected by illegal immigration into this country, okay, and the DACA people, the DACA individuals would fall into that category as well, even though they didn't choose to be here, is that one of the things that they are hurting is they depress wages, and this is a fact, it's an absolute fact, amongst low-income people in this country. And in particular, a lot of people in the low-income variety are Hispanics and blacks, which is the point I was making earlier. And there is a huge transfer of wealth that happens in this country when those kind of people lose jobs to people who are in this country illegally, or like I said, now we have DACA who are challenging.
There's no such thing as being here illegally. That's not a fact.
Please stop.
Yes,
lawfully they are breaking immigration law. It's the same thing as don't play semantics.
Existence,
one at a time.
Existence is not illegal.
I didn't say existence. I mentioned.
Then you cannot be here illegally. That doesn't make no sense.
They're breaking the law. It's illegal.
No, they're not. They're breaking the law right now.
So if you go and break a law, are you in an illegal action?
What
or
is
not?
the law they're breaking?
Wait a second. If you go out and break a law, is that an illegal action or not? Or am I
that's
not
something
allowed
that's happening
to use
presently.
that word?
What is the law they're breaking by being here?
Okay.
What law?
The immigration law.
What law? Tell me what law.
There's immigration law that says you have to apply for visas. You have to do a lot of different things. You cannot enter the country illegally.
That's different. That happened decades ago. But being here, existing in the state of Arizona is not illegal.
Who said? But
that's the law.
You're playing semantics.
No, that's the law.
No, you're playing semantics with the word illegal.
The law that was broken was crossing illegally.
Okay,
right?
so anyways,
I've got about
to the tune of $500 million, there's a wealth transfer that happens because of these low-income wages that goes into the pockets of the employers.
Them.
No, the employers.
I know, but
that play one end off the other.
Right
so why not fight for the Hispanics of Native American? Why not? No, of Native immigrant families that are here. Okay, whose jobs are most affected by the
and how do we fight for them?
By
deporting them until Congress gets its act together.
I'm sure we'll continue this.
Is that what
discussion.
you're suggesting?
All right. David Morales, thank you very much, David. And Joe Morgan, welcome to the showdown. A very passionate ending to it, which is fine. Okay, we'll be right back on the Buckmaster Show.